Yo, what is up guys? redstagg here. If you're like me and are tired of splitting your currency to do all sorts of content in Project Diablo 2 and would rather have one character that can do everything very efficiently, then look no further. This character fares extremely well for magic finding, all vanilla content, easily handles mini Ubers, sub 5 minute Uber Tristram, sub 5 minute Diablo clones, and sub 10 minute T3 maps. As a kicker, this character is probably the fastest character to run Hell Cows in the entire game. The days of splitting your currency between your characters are over, and I am super excited to share this with you. So without further need for an introduction, let's get into it. Your one character to destroy all content in Project Diablo 2 guide. See you after the intro. So as you may have already guessed, the character that we will be destroying everything with is none other than the Poison Javazon. The reason this character works so damn effectively at clearing all forms of content in Project Diablo 2 is because it offers incredibly high damage, really fast movement, and extremely high survivability. Now, the main reason this works so effectively is the survivability, which comes from the fact that Poison Javazon is inherently a 60-point build. This means that you can max dodge and you can max evade, giving you a roughly 35% chance to dodge any incoming damage. When you combine that on top of the fact that this build runs with max block, also known as 75% chance to block, and really high block frames, usually you're either blocking or dodging an attack, and if they do still get through to you, you will be capped res and you will have PDR to top it off. 35% chance to dodge, 75% chance to block. If you do the maths, you can see that you're not going to be getting hit very much. Nonetheless, I will give you a very quick overview and tips for running Uber Tristram and mini Ubers with her. And I will also give you tips on running the declone fight, but typically the playstyle is the same throughout, which is throwing one Plague Javas and throwing one or two Poison Javas, and then back to Plague when it comes off of cooldown. So jumping straight into the skills, you want to max Poison Java, you want to max Plague Java, you want to max Javelin Mastery, you want to put 1 point in every passive of the passive tree, and then you want to max dodge and evade as far as possible. At exactly level 99, you will have this entire thing, dodge and evade, maxed out, as well as 1 point in the passive tree and your Plague maxed out. So it's perfect to keep playing until 99 to complete this build. Now for the stats, it is business as usual. Enough strength to wear your gear, enough dexterity for max block, and dumping the rest of your points into vitality. Now to have a look at what gear you will need this strength for, let's jump in to see what I have. Now the weapon and the shield form the bread and butter of this build. You definitely want to get your hands on these. The rest of the items are interchangeable for more budget options. However, the weapon is of course Gargoyle's Bite, poison damage, poison pierce, what's not to love there. And then for your shield, you're going the highest defensive shield in the game, that is Storm Shield. It's got PDR, it's got faster block rate, higher chance of blocking. If you can get some sockets in it for extra resistances, this is an absolute essential part of this build and part of the reason why you can easily do the Ubers, for example. Now it is worth noting that this is the highest strength required item of this build, and as you can see on my character screen, I am at exactly 156 strength, so the strength that comes from the Storm Shield is also bugging it on. This is optimal, meaning that you can dump even more points into vitality. Now for the rest of the gear, you are looking for skills, resistances, and poison damage wherever possible. At the moment I have pretty high-end gear, but please note I started with much less, and I will provide you with budget alternatives on screen as I talk through the rest of the gear that I have on my Poison Javazon. For my helmet, I'm running a Corrupt 3 open socket Andy's helm, with IAS helping to hit breakpoints, the 2 skills, and 3 spaces for poison facets. This was a no-brainer for me. For my armor, as a poison build, naturally I'm running Bramble, some of the highest poison damage added in the game from this. but don't worry, it's not a necessity. I did not get this until I'd killed Declone already a few times. But if you can get hold of a nice one of these, it definitely boosts your damage a lot. For my belt, I'm running an increased attack speed Corrupt Arak, IES to hit the breakpoints, and +1 skills. What's there not to love? For my gloves, I have some shitty 3 javelin skill gloves with some random adds. What I would really be looking for here is some 3 to Java 30 IES gloves. This would mean I could reach the max possible IES breakpoint. But as you can see from my own build, it's not necessary to have this to make this build work. Side note, you can shop for these gloves from Charcy in hell. For my boots, I'm running water walks. Now they provide some of the faster run walk in the game, which is important for speed. But besides that, they also give you faster block rate, which is a nice add. They give you max fire res, some dexterity to help towards your block chance. And in my case with the Corrupt, they are my source of cannot be frozen. Amulet, Maras, 2 to skills, lots of res. What's not to like? Ideally, I would like to upgrade this to a 3 skill Maras, but these kind of upgrades take time. And then finally, we have some +1 to skill rings. That's BK Ring and Wisp Projector. You ideally want to Corrupt faster run walk or mana after each kill on these items. On my swap, I'm running CTA with Lidless, no brainer. And as you'd expect, my inventory I have full of skillers except for 1 torch, 1 Annie. Then I use small charms to make up my lack of resistances, particularly fire because of my Andy's face. And then once I'm capped res, I spend the rest of my small charms on adding extra life. As a side note, in my stash, I do have a Dwarf Star and a Dungos. I do prefer to wear these for the Declone fight. I haven't died yet killing Declone, and I don't intend to, so this little bit of extra survivability is more than welcome. For my Mercenary, I'm running Act 1 Vigor Merc. The faster run walk is really nice for vanilla content and speeding around maps. And she is running a 4 open socket pus spitter. This is to break poison immunities in vanilla content and in maps. She's running an Arcane's Valor and a Nightwings. It was just plus skills that I had self-found and gave to her. But ideally you would get some more IAS and PDR here. And then I'm running the Razor Tail for Pierce, so her arrows can pierce through and proc Pus Spitter more. I'm running some Ghoulhide Gloves just randomly that I found in Corrupted for some increased attack speed, and of course Marrow Walks for my source of cannot be frozen on the Mercenary. Now again, I do know that this is GG gear, you're not going to be able to afford this straight away, but believe me when I say I started with less than half damage. I did my first Declone kill with around 22k plague damage, and from there have slowly but surely farmed the rest of my gear, and that means that you can too. And that's it. With something similar to this build, you as well can destroy all content in Diablo 2. And now I'll give you some tips for running Declone and for running Ubers, while we show you some footage of her in action. With Uber Tristram, you want to make sure you're fighting one boss at a time, so kite them out so that you don't have to fight all 3 and become overrun. You want to ensure they're constantly poisoned with Plague or Poison Javelin. In between your plagues, you can also throw out javelins, poison javelins to kill the adds to make sure that you don't get overrun. I personally like to face tank because I have high PDR, chance to block, etc. But you can also use decoys and save yourself some rejuvenation potions as it doesn't affect your plague javelin cooldown. I also prefer to use some potions to keep my Mercenary alive. Once I'm in the situation where I can face tank, she's usually not in too much trouble, and the lower res curse will just make things that slight bit faster. Also, don't forget to have another character that you can come into the game and pick up the torch afterwards. With Diablo clone, as soon as you get into fight, you want to bow, and then it's quite simply you run around in circles throwing 1 plague, 1 poison, 1 plague, 1 poison, as Diablo slowly but surely dies. Or maybe not so slowly, it's still, around 4 to 5 minutes. When it comes to minion wave 1, you can practically ignore them. You continue to run around Diablo clone throwing the poison javelins, and those adds will die in the poison cloud anyway. Also, don't forget that after each add wave there is going to be 5 Bal Novas. With this build you are tanky enough to tank at least the first 2, but I would always prepare and start running to safety as soon as you see the first one. For the second wave of adds, I like to use my Plague Javelin on Diablo, and while that's on cooldown, use my Poison Javelin, particularly to kill the archers. Again, similar to wave 1, the melee skeletons will die anyway in your Plague Cloud, but you need to make sure you're taking out those archers because they can cause you some trouble. Again, following this wave, there will be Bal Novas, same as before. Run to safety, feel free to tank 1 or 2 of the Bal Novas to begin with. Make sure to bow again here just in case it runs out, but otherwise you just wait till the Bal Novas are on and get ready for phase 3. Then you have the final wave of minions at around quarter HP or just above, maybe 20%. And here you have a lot of skeleton mages, a lot more archers, a lot more adds altogether. It is important that you take out the mages and the archers. You can somehow ignore the melee skeletons because they again will die in your poison clouds along the way. So just run around making sure the mages are dead, and then once they are dead, and you can go back to killing Diablo while throwing your poison javelins at the archers, just so you can kill both at the same time. Then after that you have the final set of Bal waves. Same as before, you can take a hit, run to safety, and then finish them off with poison and plague javazons intermittently while running around in circles. Super easy, super effective, and super fast. Now, if that guide on destroying all content with one character doesn't get your tits jacked, then I don't know. But if it did get your tits jacked, make sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you've got any questions about the build, feel free to leave a comment, or you can catch me more directly in my Discord. I will leave the link in the description. And until next video, Red Stag out. Peace.